Welcome back to Speller Tutorial Services. In today's video, we're going to use the completing the square method to solve this quadratic equation. The twist is that we're going to do this graphically. And actually, I'm going to do it both abstract using the numbers, but also showing you a picture to try to make more sense of the completing the square method. First thing I'm going to do is I need to get these two x squared term and the x term by itself. So I do that by adding 21 to both sides. Alright, in adding 21, I cancel 21 out over here, and then I'm left with x squared plus 20x is equal to 21. Now to complete the square, I need to find a value that I can add to both the left-hand side and the right-hand side. But that value also has to make this left-hand side a perfect square trinomial. So let's begin with the abstract method. We know that we take the coefficient next to the x term, which in this case is 20. We take half of that, and then we square that result. So here we have 20 divided by 2, which gives us 10, and then 10 squared gives us 100. So that means I need to add 100 to the left-hand side and 100 to the right-hand side. The next thing we know is that the x term is going to be added. I'm going to add 10 to the x term, so that's really going to be x plus 10 quantity squared is equal to 21 plus 100 to give me 121. Now let's look at this graphically here on the other side. We're going to begin by using using some squares here, because we're going to do this using an area model. So I'm going to draw a square here, and my focus, well, it looks like a rectangle, but that'll still work. My focus here is on the x squared term. Well, if I'm doing an area model, that would mean that the length is x and the width is x, which gives me an area of x squared. I'm going to go back to my square tool, and now I'm going to draw another, well in this case a rectangle on this end, and I'm going to draw a rectangle on this end here. What I know from the abstract method is that I take the x term and I'm going to take half of that x term. In this case, the x term is 20, so taking half of the 20 gives me 10. So that means that the area that I want in this rectangle is 10x, and the area I want in this rectangle here is also 10x. Well, I know that this length here matches this length to the right, so that there is x. And because this is an area model, I need to ask myself, what do I multiply x by to get 10x? In this case, that answer is 10, because 10 times x gives me 10x. I have the same relationship here on the left-hand side. This length here matches this length down here at the bottom, which is x. And I know this length here has to be 10, because 10 times x gives me 10x. Now I'm in a position where I need to complete the square. So to complete the square, let me pull back up my drawing tool, and I'm going to draw a square or a rectangle here, because this is the portion that has to be completed. Now if I look at the lengths that I have here, I know that this length here is 10, which means this length to the right here also has to be 10. And the same relationship here at the top and bottom. If this here is 10, I know this length here also has to be 10. And now to find the area of this square, I know it's going to be the length times the width, in this case 10 times 10, to give me 100. And that is the same 100 that I placed in these blanks here on the left-hand side. Now the other thing to notice, I'm doing the area model, so that means all I need is to multiply one length times the width, and that will give me the area of this entire quadrilateral or square. So here I see that this entire length is x plus 10, and this entire length here is x plus 10. So x plus 10 times x plus 10 is really x plus 10 squared, which is what I have written here. And if I'm going to add 100 to the other side, 100 plus the 21 gives me the answer here of 121. Now at this point, I'm just going to solve this problem abstractly, where I need to take the square root of both sides to get rid of this square sign. And when I do that on the left-hand side, I end up with x plus 10. And on the right-hand side, I end up with plus or minus 11. Now I have two different equations here because of the plus or minus sign. So this is really x plus 10 is equal to 11, and x plus 10 is equal to negative 11. Let's start with this equation here on the left hand side. To get the x by itself, I subtract 10 from both sides. Here I'll come up with the answer of x as being 1. And on the right hand side, on the equation on the right hand side, I'm going to subtract 10 again from both sides of the equation. These 10s here cancel, and I'm left with x is equal to negative 21. So here graphically I showed how we use the completing the square method, both abstractly and with a picture, and I hope that's made things a little more clear. That sums it up for this video by Speller Tutorial Services. Please friend us on Facebook and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. And as always, thank you for watching.